What's up? I'm super excited today because I'm going to start sharing my 3D models for free with you. I've created a Gumroad account, and in this video I'll show you how easy it is to follow that link in the description to my Gumroad, download the 3D model completely for free, and start working on your own, creating your own crazy animations with my 3D model as the base. Let's get started. So the platform that I'll be using to share my 3D model files with you is called Gumroad, and you can navigate to my Gumroad account with the link in the video description below or in the links in my About page on my YouTube. You can highlight the link, copy it into your favorite browser. This will take you directly to my page, Voxel Architecture, or my username, Archivoxel, on Gumroad. Right now I have this one item as a zero price. You can enter in zero, in dollars, add it to your and you'll be able to download this model for free. I'll be able to get. You can see a test video of what the visualizer would look like, a screenshot of the 3D model, and a few notes. So you click download to download the 3D model, and it pops up in your downloads. So this file that we're downloading is a Blender file. If you do not yet have the 3D modeling program Blender, it's completely free. All you have to do is go to blender.org and click Download Blender. It's updated constantly, so almost every time you go here there will be a new option to download. This one's showing 3.4. So you can download the program and then you'll be able to open this Blender file. So when you first open up this Blender file, it'll look exactly like this. I've got a few viewport layouts set up already so that it'll optimize your workflow. You can see our 3D model, our viewport up here on our right, and it's in our normal shading. We can change it over to rendered view. So you can see I've got the cubes, some colored lights, a blue light, a pink light, and that's our 3D model view. It'll open looking through the camera. That's why we have this rectangular view. So you'll see the camera's already placed in the scene and ready to render. These other panels, like up here, our video sequencer, are where we'll add our sound for our music. Our graph editor is where we'll edit and manipulate our animations to make them look a lot more satisfying. And then down here is our geometry node editor, where we're actually going to be editing our geometry node tree and what's modifying the grid of cubes. So to break down the modifiers in this model, I first started with one geometry node tree that's a single grid. So the size is determined by our x and y and our number of vertices, or the resolution of the grid. And I created that and stopped right away because I wanted to add that displace modifier. So it creates that wave function going throughout. Then I wanted to map our cubes on and change the sizing and rotation of the cubes. So I added another geometry nodes tree at the bottom of the stack. And this is where that magic's happening with the sound affecting the rotation and the scale of the cubes themselves. You can see I've got a really simple rotation animation of 360 degrees that loops with a cycling animation. You can see I have a Z rotation and it cycles throughout the length of the animation. Magic really comes from is how these cubes are reacting to the music, and that's happening down in our geometry node editor. So I've highlighted these two nodes. These are the only nodes you need to edit. You can see they're named Bake Sound to Cube Scale and Bake Sound to Cube Rotation. So these are where I keyframe in the size and rotation of my cubes, and I tell the audio to affect that size and rotation. So to start out, just to show you, in that file you have, there's already sound baked into both of these F-curves. If you select the geometry, these cubes, select that hot pink node that says Bake Sound to Cube Scale, we go over to our graph editor and select that geometry nodes, the random transform of the noise, and zoom in. This is the actual transformation of the objects mapped onto the scale. So the song starts and then the bass drops. So these two nodes affecting the rotation and the scale of the cubes are where you will bake in your own audio to create this animation. So to do that, we make sure we're at keyframe 1. We'll go to our video sequencer and add sound. You can choose any music. I pay for a music subscription, so I'm able to get this high quality audio, but I can't share it with you, unfortunately. Choose any audio you like, a single tone or a complex song, someone speaking, it doesn't matter. When you import that audio, it brings it in as a sound strip in your video sequencer. You can even see the length of your audio written into the sound strip, 3,330 frames. So down in your timeline window, 3330. So now your animation, your timeline is as long as your music. So Blender knows what music you're working with, and now you need to bake the sound into these F-curves to make it happen to your music, since I created these F-curves based on a different audio track. And you can do that just building off of my F-curves. You don't have to rebuild your geometry node tree at all. I just have my cube scale selected, and I have these F-curves here. I'm just going to re-bake a new sound into the curve, essentially. So I go to Key, and Bake Sound to F-curves. And this will just overwrite the sound that I had baked in before. Select your music, and then over on the right, before you exit out, you can choose your frequency range. So lowest frequency, maybe 0 to only 500 for the bass. Now often it'd reduce my attack time of the effect of the F-curve as well, but I'll leave the other settings the same. Bake Sound to F-curves. Now this is your audio track that's been mapped into the scale, this node here, the scale F-curve. Now before we even watch it, let's do the rotation as well. Click on the rotation node, then we go over here, make sure our default value for the rotation selected, and repeat the same step. Key, Bake Sound to F-curves. And this time I'm going to go from 500 to 2500.
All I know is this. A cool don't step. All I know is this.
So, sure enough, the scale and rotation of our cubes is reacting to the music. But I have one more modifier in this 3D model that can make it a little bit more dynamic. You can see that the model is waving or displacing in a wave pattern throughout the entire grid. So if we go to your modifier stack, you can see I actually have a displace modifier. And that's being controlled by a plane axis right here, this invisible object. It doesn't render, but that travels around this Bezier circle. If you select your plane axis and go to your constraints, you can see it's actually following a path, and it's following that Bezier circle. And my offset is green here, it's highlighted, because I've keyframed this offset to the music as well. You can see over in my graph editor, it's going really crazy, all the way up, all the way down. And that's the actual traveling of this object back and forth along the curved circle. Now, why did I do that? That's because we go back to our grid, set the location of our displace modifier based off an object, set the coordinates to object, and then I tracked it with that empty. See, empty, bake sound to offset, follow path. So you can see it's set to that object. So as the wave moves back and forth, this effect here, this is actually moving and changing the mapping of this noisy wave based off of our plane axis. So to make this react to the music, it's the same exact process. I've already got these F-curves built in over here that's keyframed to the offset. So you just need to select your offset, select your plane axis, and go to Key, Bake Sound to F-curves. And let's make this a different range, 2500 all the way to 10,000. You can see I've added an envelope modifier onto this F-curve, and this envelope modifier allows you to expand and contract the F-curve to make it more or less dynamic, more or less jittery or chaotic. If we bring it down to almost 0, the wave pattern won't move barely at all, and if we really increase this, there's a lot of movement from negative to positive, then the object is offsetting a lot more. You can see as I scrub forward in our timeline, this number actually changes. So now we have 3 things in our model reacting to the music. So you've got your 3D model set up, now it's time to render. The render setting should already be good. I've got it set to Eevee and a bunch of render passes. You could reduce this down to 100 and mess with your bloom to your liking. If you go into rendered view, increase and decrease the intensity and the radius of your bloom. Possibly even the color. You can click on the color. And in your output properties, you could change this to a 4K rendering with 3840 by 2160, output of 4K rendering, and then choose your output location with this little folder where you want to save your file to. And I've got these settings ready for you. It's FF MPEG video, so this will output an MP4 file, here MPEG 4, and I've got it set to perceptually lossless, so it'll be high quality, and then including AAC audio encoding. So this will video, and audio. That's the final step. Just make sure you file and save your file one more time before you click render. Otherwise, I go to render and render animation. I hope this becomes helpful for someone. I know there are people out there who want to be able to create something like this, but just can't quite wrap their heads around arranging the geometry node tree. So all of this is supposed to be as simple as possible. Just show up and bake your sound in. And if you're curious, go check out that file. The link is in the description. If you've never tried Blender before, I would definitely recommend trying to learn it even just once. Open this file and see what it looks like. It's a really rewarding program to learn.
Big time, no man, diamonds in my teeth, I got a lot of shine. Running up the number, that's a lot of crime. Try to take it from me, must be out your mind. I'm big time, lot of slime. Smoky in the air, that's a lot of pine. Pockets running over with the dollar sign. Try to take it from me. I don't need rags, I just need more bags. Bought the trip to the store, said I need more space.
If you like this content, be sure to like and subscribe. Subscribe to my gumroad as well, because I'll be sharing more and more complex geometry node trees for free on my gumroad. Be sure to subscribe. See ya!